processing and equalizer settings of the Crestron AMS Adagio Media System and the AMS AIP audio-video processors in real time. Note that this software is a separate download available from Crestron.com and is not in the Toolbox's main installation. In fact, you have the option of opening ProSound Tools as a standalone application from within Toolbox or from the Adagio Composer and System Builder. Using ProSound Tools, you configure the theater speaker configuration, EQ, and surround sound decoding modes. Begin by connecting your computer's USB port to the USB port located on the front of the unit. While you can connect using Ethernet for most features, in order to use the Audyssey Multi-Q XD equalization software with the CSS TK tuning kit, you must be connected using the USB port. The top half of the ProSound Tools screen allows you to configure the current system settings. The AMS system consists of one theater room that can be configured for surround sound in 5.1, 6.1, 7.1, or stereo, plus 4 stereo rooms, and optionally one additional stereo room or 2 mono rooms. Clicking on the Configure button will allow you to select the speaker configuration that matches your installation, enter the room equalization setup mode, and install the microphone setup file. But we'll come back to that in a moment. First, let's discuss the different options presented here. From this screen, we have radio buttons to select between adjusting the theater and the whole house settings. Then we can select the active input source and rename them if necessary by pressing this button. Once configured, the manual steering option sends the input source to each speaker one at a time, allowing you to test that each speaker is working and wired to the proper location. Next is the system configuration. Here you gain control over all of the settings and adjustments that are programmable. However, it may be easier to set EQ and decoder presets from here and then simply recall them from within the program. Following the categories down the left side of the screen, first we have the Audio Controls button, which allows us to set the minimum and maximum volume levels, as well as the startup volume. Note that when a specific decoding mode is active, the final volume is determined by the current volume plus the master volume specified in the decoding mode settings. Next is the speaker adjustments. From here you can adjust the lip sync delay in order to delay the front speaker channels so that the audio is synchronized with the video. You can set this time in feet, meters, or milliseconds. Use the gain sliders to adjust the gains of each speaker between -12 and +12 dB. Use the crossover frequency list to redirect the lower frequencies to the subwoofer speaker. And please note that unlike all other system configuration properties, the speaker adjustments are only saved in memory upon clicking the Save Configuration button. They are not saved as they are adjusted. The Equalizers view allows you to manually configure the EQ of the AMS in real time using either a graphic or a parametric interface. The values entered here are stored as they are adjusted. The Presets button can be used to save or load EQ. Next is the input settings. From here you can assign which decoding mode to use for each input, as well as adjust the input gain for each source. And finally, the decode mode settings allow you to specify default speaker adjustments and EQ settings that will take effect whenever the selected decoding mode is active. Now let's take a look back at the system configuration settings. The first time you launch this dialog, it will display a drop-down menu for you to select your speaker configuration. This is the same feature you will find in System Builder in the System Properties dialog. Before launching setup, you will need to select your microphone profile using the room equalization setup. This file will be different for every microphone sold with the tuner kit. This file can be found on the disk that ships with the kit, but if you do not have this disk, you can visit Audyssey's support website and using the serial number of your microphone, retrieve the appropriate APM file. Next, fill in the job information to be included with the documentation. Then you may begin to take measurements for up to 32 distinct positions, paying attention to the directions to take the first measurement from the primary seating location. For detailed instructions on this process, see the Professional Surround Sound Tuning Kit manual. When finished, Audyssey will display the results of the EQ process with before and after frequency charts to be added to the project documentation. Digital media tools allow you to configure, troubleshoot, and diagnose a DM system. You will use it to connect to a digital media switcher and test transmitters and receivers. Digital media, or DM tools, allows you to configure and view the settings for a digital media switcher and its associated transmitters and receivers. Using DM tools, you can view your sources and destinations information including supported resolutions, audio format, and more. Use the Setup button on each input card to view and modify the incoming information, configure the EDID to determine which sources will go to which destinations, manage HDCP keys, and adjust the audio volume. Use the DM tool to easily rename inputs and outputs rather than using the front panel. On the output side, use the pull-down menus to manually route inputs and outputs for testing, view supported resolutions, and HDCP details about all of the devices in the DM system. For more details on the digital media products and software, please see the complete tutorial in our quick courses at Crestron.com. The Media Tool and Quick Media Tool share many of the same attributes between them. The only difference is that the QM tool is specifically made for quick media devices, and the Media tool is for configuring analog audio and video switching modules, including the VEQ4 volume controllers, CEN RGB HV switchers, and MP2 processors. So I will demonstrate just the Quick Media tool applies to all of the quick media switchers, such as the QM MD 5x1, 7x2, and 8x8, plus transmitters and receivers and MPS series processors. Here I am connected to a QM MD 7x2, so I have the 7 video and 7 audio inputs and 2 outputs, which I can manually take control of and switch inputs to outputs for testing before my program has been loaded. If you want the audio to always follow the video source, check the box labeled Audio Follows Video. The tool will appear slightly different depending on the device you are controlling, but the functionality will remain the same. More than just switching, we also have the ability to set up input gains, peak and boost levels, plus microphone and mixer settings. If you click on any box, you can access the parameters for each feature. For instance, if one of our sources is coming in louder than the rest, we can use the input gain level to lower that particular input. The input gain is applied only to audio being routed to audio out 1 or audio out 2. It has no effect on the QM out 1 or out 2. Use the peak and boost sliders to boost the audio values for QM inputs 6 and 7. Applying peak and boost can improve the transmission of the encoded audio signal over cable lengths up to 300 feet. For most applications, no adjustment is necessary, but for cables over 50 feet long, check the help file for the appropriate settings. Also, if you have a large system with several QM transmitters, you may wish to set up the configuration presets to be recalled for each switch. You can trigger these manually or enable the auto detection so that the hardware will recall specific presets based on the transmitter IDs of the chosen source points. Both of these options are set using the QM Functions pull-down menu. Next is the microphone settings and mixer, which includes real-time level monitoring. Remember to disable this feature when it is not being used, as it will slow down the performance of both the device and the system tool. The local mic settings allow you to set the gain, noise gate, EQ, and attack and delay times for the microphones that are plugged directly into the switcher. The parameters for any mics plugged into the QM-WM-IC wall plates are set up by connecting to that transmitter. This is also where you can enable fan and power for your microphone if needed. The mic mix options allows you to determine how much of each microphone feeds each output on the switcher. Finally, the line-level audio outputs each provide a mixing section. Here we determine the balance between the left and right audio inputs plus the microphone mixdown configured in the mic settings section that can feed any combination of the left and right program outputs and the speech output. The mixing and EQ settings for the program left and right channels can be configured discretely, or they can be linked together by clicking the stereo or link checkbox over each section. All of these settings can be saved as presets to be recalled automatically or through programming. Each output's equalizer settings can be configured using the graphic or parametric EQs. The graphic EQ consists of a fixed 10-band EQ, or you can use the parametric EQ to create your own filters and adjust the bandwidth for each. Selecting the link button on the screen will set the same EQ values for the left and right channels. And lastly, the delay control allows you to set up a delay of the speech output if your speakers are not aligned with the presenter. All of these functions can be accessed through programming, however it is not necessary. If you don't wish to give the customer access to the settings of the switcher, you can use Toolbox to set them up.